You've seen them in movies forever, right? The dream of the flying car. Well, they're not just a dream anymore. They are right on the verge of becoming a reality. But, like with any huge leap in technology, there's always a catch. Today, we're going to break down this whole revolution, the incredible machines, the giant systems behind them, and we're going to uncover the one single thing that almost nobody is talking about, the one thing that could ground this entire industry before it even gets off the ground.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The term you're going to hear a lot is urban air mobility, or UAM for short. And this quote just nails it. It's that sci-fi vision of flying cars finally coming to life. What we're really talking about is a totally new way to get around, using these super advanced aircraft to hop over traffic in our biggest cities. And this isn't some garage project. We're talking giants like Boeing, Airbus, Uber, and Hyundai all racing to make this happen. And trust me, this isn't just a fun little niche for tech enthusiasts. The amount of money at stake here is, well, it's staggering. The market for this is projected to hit $1 trillion by 2040. That's a 1 with 12 zeros after it. So this is way more than just a convenient way to get to work. It's a fundamental change to our economy and how our cities are going to function.
So what is this machine that's at the very heart of this revolution? It's not exactly what you saw in the movies. Let's meet the real star of the show.
It's called an eVTOL. That stands for Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing. And honestly, the name tells you pretty much everything you need to know. Electric means it runs on batteries, so it's a whole lot cleaner. And vertical takeoff and landing means no runway needed. It goes straight up and straight down, just like a helicopter.
And this is where you can really see how much of a game changer these things are compared to, say, a traditional helicopter. First, the power source. We're going from loud, dirty fossil fuels to clean electricity. And that has a huge effect on the noise. You know that classic loud chop, chop, chop of a helicopter? The eVTOL makes a sound that's more like a quiet whoosh. But look at that last row. This is a really big deal for safety. If a helicopter's engine dies, the pilot can use a trick called auto-rotation, which basically turns the blades into a parachute for a controlled crash landing. Most eVTOLs can't do that. Their safety net is having lots of electric motors, so if one or two fail, the others can pick up the slack.
Okay, so we've got the machine, but here's the thing. This is about so much more than just the aircraft. For any of this to work, we have to build an entirely new world to support it. Basically, highways in the sky.
And this is what it looks like down on the ground. The places where these things take off and land are called vertiports. And they could be all different sizes. You could have a tiny, single vertipad on top of a building, or a bigger vertiport base, or even a massive vertihub that's like a mini airport just for flying cars. This is the physical footprint we're talking about. The big takeaway here is that all these pieces have to work together perfectly. It's a whole ecosystem. You need the physical vertiports, yeah, but you also need a ton of energy to charge them, you need dedicated radio channels so they can all talk to each other, and you need a super smart air traffic control system to make sure they don't, run into each other.
This all sounds amazing, doesn't it? A fast, quiet, clean way to zip around town. But you probably knew there was a but coming. The reality on the ground brings some pretty massive hurdles.
Oh, it's definitely not that simple. I mean, think about it. We're talking about flying a brand new type of vehicle over densely packed cities. That raises a whole host of challenges that people are trying to figure out right now. Let's get into the obvious ones first.
First on the list, noise. Now, we said they're quieter, and they are, but they are not silent. Check out this chart from a NASA flight test. That blue line shows the aircraft's altitude, taking off, cruising along, and then landing. The orange line is how loud it is on the ground right underneath it. And you can see these big spikes in noise right at takeoff and landing, which is exactly when they're closest to homes and offices.
Now, to put that into perspective, a helicopter flying about 1,600 feet over your head is still really, really loud. An eVTOL at that same height is only about 45 decibels. That's roughly the sound of background rain. It's a huge improvement for sure, but it does raise the question, are communities going to be okay with even that sound when you have hundreds of these flights going over every single day?
And then we get to the really big one, safety. It can't just be good. It has to be basically perfect. Flying low over cities brings its own unique risks. You've got a much higher chance of bird strikes. All those takeoffs and landings put a ton of wear and tear on the aircraft. You have to think about the fire risk from those massive batteries in a crash. And of course, any problem in the air creates a huge risk for people on the ground. And remember, there's no gliding to safety like a helicopter can.
So we have noise concerns, we have major safety hurdles to clear. These are tough, for sure, but they're also the problems everyone expected. Engineers are working on them right now. But there is another challenge. One that's more basic, way more expensive,
and a whole lot slower to fix. It is the one thing that could stop this entire revolution dead in its tracks.
We've looked at the cool flying machines, the infrastructure, the obvious problems. But the biggest roadblock of all isn't any of those things. So what on earth could it be?
Well, you might think it's the aircraft themselves, but nope. The tech is pretty much there. They're already flying, so it is not the aircraft.
Okay, so what about all the red tape, the regulations? That's got to be it, right? Wrong again. Regulators are already figuring out how to certify these things. It's a slow process, but it's happening. The real problem is something much more fundamental.
It's the electricity, just the raw, brute force power required to charge fleets of these aircraft day in and day out. The problem isn't in the sky at all. It's buried right under our feet.
Just look at the numbers. A single busy vertiport is going to need over 1 megawatt of continuous power. To put that in perspective for you, 1 megawatt is enough electricity to power about 1,000 homes at the exact same time. Now picture a city with dozens of these vertiports, all trying to pull that much power from the grid, often at the same time.
And this, right here, is the real kicker. You can't just install a supercharger and call it a day. Getting that kind of power to one spot requires a massive upgrade to the local electrical grid. You have to apply for it, the utility company has to study the grid for months, sometimes years, and usually the grid just can't handle it. So that means upgrading substations, running new high-voltage lines, the whole shebang. The total time to get that done? Anywhere from 2 to 10 years.
And that brings us to the final multi-trillion-dollar question. The flying car technology is here. The investment is flowing in. The dream is so close. But the success of this entire industry might actually depend on something much older and, let's be honest, way more boring: upgrading our power grids. It turns out the race to conquer the sky is really a race against time, right here on the ground.